Bam! How's it going? It is I again, your boy. We are talking about negotiation today. This video is specifically meant for people that call themselves as investors in property and who are trying to figure out ways in which that they can negotiate within their properties when they are buying. So when do you negotiate and when do you not negotiate? Within this video, my aim is that I can show you on knowing when to negotiate and when not to negotiate for properties or for real estate, as and when you are buying, specifically if you're an investor. If you're an investor, let me know in the comments if what this video is going to be about today, whether this made sense to you at all or whether you would use this. I'm going to talk to you about what is negotiating. So negotiating is specifically utilized in different areas where maybe there might be a hostage situation. So negotiating is that now you are going to find someone else out there who is going to smoothen the transaction. I call them the greasy boy. Is there anyone who can go and greasy the situation? I generally use people that are called the estate agents for me to be my greasy boys. And I have plenty of estate agents. So I have plenty of greasers out there. Negotiating is basically you are now in a situation where it's a little bit impossible. When I say hostage situation here, I mean you've got one person who is wanting A and the other person wants Z. So how can we find ourselves in the middle ground? And that's why I'm calling it a hostage situation. We can call it anything that we want to call it today, but for the purposes of today, let's call it the situation where it is now tough because one wants A and the other one wants Z. But how can we come to the middle ground for us to be working together? And for me, that's negotiation. There's someone now needs to go in and greasy the situation to make sure that the friction is not hard whilst we are talking about, no, I can give you the B, I can give you the Y, no, but how about the RST and how? So as we're growing apart from what we desire to have so that we can find a middle ground for us, and that middle ground could be on the extreme on the other, that middle ground could be on the extreme on the other, or it may be a 50-50 in terms of the negotiation. So in a nutshell, a negotiator is someone who goes out and pleads your case on your behalf. So in some cases, you can plead your own case by yourself. So let's talk about it. You go out there to a property and you see a property that you like. This property is on the market for R1 million. And now you're trying to negotiate because you only have 800,000. So how can you negotiate? There is many ways in which you can negotiate. I've done a couple of videos around negotiating. I've got a class actually that I run around negotiating because I don't think that everybody gets it in terms of negotiating. And many of us are even built in the form of never negotiate. Just pay whatever that's been asked for. So when is it the right time to negotiate or not to negotiate? I will give you an example. Back in the days when I was starting off, this was literally my first deal that I ever did. And within this property, I had found it online and I went out to look at this property and I realized that on the property itself, the property was heavily damaged. And with that, I knew that there was going to be lots of money that I was going to be putting in the property to renovate it so that it can come back to its former glory. With that, I also knew my end state. My end state was that at some point, I would want to sell this property. And for that reason, I wanted to make a little bit of money out of that. So having said that, I also understood the situation of the person that was selling it. They didn't care about the property. They just wanted it off their hands. In this scenario here, my alarm in terms of I can negotiate were extremely high. because the person who owns the property didn't want anything with the property. So could I get my way based on the fact that they don't want the property anymore? And if the answer was yes, I was going to negotiate. So what did I do? Yes, I went on to negotiate. How did I negotiate? This is an example. The property was registered for around about 380 onto the market. And I negotiated based on what the work that needed to be done on the property. So I went out to the owner and I said, look, I would like to renovate this property and it's going to take me X amount of money to bring it back to its former glory. We both agreed on that. So I brought it down from the 380 to how much it was going to take me to renovate the property. We agreed, so we had a common ground. So negotiation number one ticked, common ground. I then also said that if I was to buy this property today, I'll be able to move in today. But because I cannot move in today, I'm going to have a loss of income whilst the property is being renovated. Can I also add that in? And again, both of us, we had a common ground and we agreed. And I also then said to her, but you want the money today, I can give you the money today. But if I give you today, it means that I am going to have a discount, and we both agreed on it. Having said that, that's how I ended up buying the same property that was listed for 380. I eventually bought it for 160,000. 2 bed, 1 bath. Bingo! And now you say to me, TJ, wow, there was great negotiations. Yes. But what did I see? There was quite a lot of things that I could see, that I could navigate for me to be able to utilize my negotiation skills. That is number one, property that I did, and I went on to negotiate, and bingo, I got the property. A little bit later, I put in an additional 50,000 on the property, and for 210, I was in that property, and I later sold it for around about 450. Bingo, I made some profit in and out. You can do the maths. But I want to speak to another situation where I didn't have to negotiate. And why I didn't have to negotiate, I will tell you. But ladies and gentlemen, if this makes sense to you, or you have any questions in the comments now, let me know whether this makes any sense to you. Or if you do have any questions that you'd like to ask specifically to what we just spoke about now, then hit me up. I will definitely respond to you. Or over and above that, if you have never subscribed to our channel, now is the time for you to hit that button, subscribe. As I continue on why I wouldn't negotiate in some cases, I was about to buy a property that we utilize for student accommodation in the month of November. And for student accommodation, we all know that November is your time. You're cutting it thin if you're buying a property in November, December for student accommodation, because you need to be ready already in January so that the students, as they are going home, or if they are coming in for their what they call an open day at the universities, they can see what your property looks like, and hopefully they can be able to sign up and become your tenant for the forthcoming year. In this case, when I bought the property in November, it was a 1 million rand property. I knew that I could do around about 22 students on the property. I had done my figures, and the person says to me they wanted 1 million rand. Now, I looked at my timeline in terms of should I negotiate, and if I negotiate, how much time am I going to be wasting doing the negotiations with this individual? Well, they were not in a hurry. I was. So for that reason, I then said, reason number one, I am not going to negotiate with them. I am going to give them what they want, because when I do my calculation, which is reason number two, when I do my calculations, I can see that I am able to make profit. Is the profit, now reason number three, is the profit acceptable to me? And yes, it was. So I gave them the 1 million that they were looking for. Instead of negotiating on the price, I gave them what they were looking for, and I negotiated about when I could actually move in. So my negotiation moved away from a price negotiation to a when can I move in, and why did I want to move in sooner? For the same reasons that I discussed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a framework that I've given you, not an example. It's a framework. So you now need to apply your mind around all of this and say, hold on, whenever I am going out there to negotiate or to buy a property or acquire a property, at what point do I negotiate and at what point don't I negotiate? Or at what point do I negotiate for what? Because negotiating is not all about knocking the other person off their price. I think we need to understand that. Sometimes it's about giving them what they're looking for, but you're getting something else. So for instance, the thing about moving in, for me, that's a big thing because I want to be making money from day one. Day one does not necessarily mean that the day that I'm renting out the property. Day one basically means that if I'm going to put money out, I want to make money when I put the money out. So we all know on the property side, generally you get to pay lots of monies upfront. Then the property needs to register and all of those things. In the meantime, you're getting like a 5% whilst the money is sitting at the attorneys and conveyancers. I hate that. I want my money to be making money today. But I hope within this video, you've been able to see for yourself, when you're investing in properties, when do you negotiate? When do you not negotiate? Or my favorite part, what to negotiate for, because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a money negotiating. If this video makes sense for you, you need to hit the subscribe button. But over and above that, let me know what you think. Have you used some of this? Is it something that you can utilize? Or you are scared to negotiate? Hey, I was there too, back in the days. But with practice, with getting the right teacher on board, I was able to. In the description, you will be able to see some classes that we run. And within those classes, you can literally just choose a class, depending on where you are in life, and you can jump on a class and we will see you in the class. But for today, I will see you on the next video.